Member for Kelowna Mission.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, only an NDP government would give already struggling British Columbians a week filled with nothing but an uninspiring, over-politicized and solution-free budget announcement, and then ironically follow it up with a motion that, if anything, only mocks this government's abysmal track record. A failure at building 114,000 units in over 8 years. BC Housing is a financial disaster. And now this new housing suite of bills has thrown chaos into planning departments around the province. The record-breaking deficit announced last week does not serve the interests of, and I quote, regular people, end quote, when under this government's watch, the dream of affording a regular life is now beyond one's reach. In the face of this, we see a province grappling with the most unaffordable housing costs in North America and the highest rents in Canada. In 7 years under this government, the average cost of a townhome in Vancouver has surged by $400,000. Renters, too, find themselves hurting, paying nearly $6,000 more annually under this NDP government. Our cities, including Vancouver, Victoria, and my hometown of Kelowna, now boast some of the least affordable rental markets, with vacancy rates plummeting to 1%. This isn't just a crisis, it's an NDP catastrophe. We've heard about all of the suite of laws and taxes lauded here this morning, but newsflash, none of that has worked. This motion, rather than being a step forward, is a stark reminder of the NDP's failure to address the core issues plaguing our housing market. Take, for example, the proposal of a house flipping tax by the NDP. While seemingly a step in the right direction, lacks the substance and structural support to make a real impact. Historical data and economic analysis suggest that such measures, without comprehensive strategy, barely scratch the surface of the housing affordability crisis. Moreover, this approach neglects to consider the broader economic implications, potentially stifling investment and development crucial for housing supply expansion. This is true throughout BC, but especially in Vancouver, where over 60% of all new housing units were bought in pre-sale. What happens if those pre-sales stop? Banks stop financing. New housing stops. Our BC United opposition brings forth not just criticism, but the first plank of our housing plan, United to Fix Housing, aimed at real solutions, not empty promises that yield no outcomes. We're introducing bold initiatives such as the rent-to-own program, the elimination of the property transfer tax for first-time homebuyers up to $1 million, and the use of public land for affordable housing. Ideas that when even the NDP tries to copy, they can't seem to get it right. The BC United Caucus is the only party here with the experience, understanding, and willingness to pursue new ideas that will undo the NDP damage and bring back the dream of home ownership. While we acknowledge the intent behind a flipping tax, experience has taught us that good intentions under this government often lead to poorly executed policies. The real issue at hand is not merely flipping, it's the lack of a holistic approach to housing supply. Policies need to address supply constraints, bureaucratic red tape, and incentivize both the public and private sectors to contribute meaningfully to solve the housing crisis. You know what this government has not done? Guarantee timeframes on provincial housing approvals of the Ministry of Transportation, Environment, Agriculture, Forests, Water, Land, and Resource Stewardship. Why not? Well, because they're too busy blaming everyone else for their utter housing failures. This tax is yet another measure that won't have an effect on housing prices or availability. But don't believe us. Believe the NDP's own consultant, Dr. Tom Davidoff, associate professor at UBC's Sauder School of Business, who said that when it comes to affordability, he doesn't believe the tax will bring housing prices down. And I quote, "I think the flipping tax is not important at all for long-run affordability, but it may be important to provide political cover." End quote. Wow. Political cover, hey? It's time for a government that acts in the true interests of its citizens, rather than one that looks for political cover, plays to false beliefs and misinformation, and risks more catastrophic consequences, ultimately failing to address the root causes of the struggles of the people. merely to stay elected. Do better, NDP. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.